Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Sleeping Beauty Princess Aurora 4th birthday balloon bouquet. Hi, I'm Melanie from Balloon Artworks here in Derbyshire in the UK. I'm going to be using this lovely anagram licensed print foil balloon of Princess Aurora. I'm also going to be using a 34-inch Sensation pink iridescent foil balloon. These are fairly new. And one of my tips when working with foils, one of the things I do anyway, is if I need one foil balloon, I buy 3. So these are my backups. Foil balloons, sometimes they don't always work, sometimes they have little holes in. You never quite know. Generally, they are very, very reliable. But as a professional, I need to be sure that I have a backup. So I always like to have at least a couple of spares. I know I will use these in other designs in the future, so they're not going to be wasted. So that's my pro tip if you're working or wanting to work as a professional in the balloon industry. The first thing I do when making a display like this is I inflate all the foil balloons that I need with air. And I do this because if there is going to be a problem, then I want to know about it as quickly as possible. So I inflate the foils, I set them to one side, and then I will start to build the rest of the display. So this is the valve here. You can tell because it's got this silver circle here, that's the valve where we're going to inflate. And just unfold the balloon fully. You'll notice that it's very creased. Don't worry about that. The creases will disappear because this material that is used is very stretchy. Okay, so we're aiming for the foil here, and just take your hand pump, or if you're using an electric inflator, just insert there and start to inflate. One of the things you'll notice is that the top part of this balloon isn't inflating, and that is because this is a separate chamber. So you may be able to see a line here just along the balloon, and there is a valve from this balloon into this section of the balloon. So what we need to do once we've got some air in here is press gently on here with the intention of sending the air through into this part of the balloon. You may just need to sort of lift this section up and pull it slightly. Okay, and that's just going to help open up the valve. Okay, so we just want to transfer some of the air through. Make sure it goes through into the arm as well, which is also a separate chamber. And now I've deflated this a little bit by sending the air through here. I can continue inflating. Okay, you can see that's starting to get full again. So I just want to again move the air through into the top part of the balloon and then put some more air in here. So this part of the balloon is starting to feel quite full, and so is this section here. And one of the ways to test whether your balloon is fully inflated is to walk your fingers around the side of the balloon. I just want to put just a little bit more air into this. Okay, that's feeling nice and full. I can walk my fingers along the side of the balloon and the balloon pings back into position, okay? And do remember that if you inflate in your studio in a warmish environment and then take the balloon outside, maybe you put it in your van and it's cold, then the air inside, the air molecules will shrink and the balloon will start to look slightly deflated. But when you bring it back into the warm, it will perk up again and reinflate. Take an 11, 12 or 13-inch balloon and you want to double stuff that. So we're going to do that with the 5 balloons that form our base layer. And you'll find that a lot of the electric inflators won't inflate double stuffed balloons. So you might just need to start them off a little bit with the hand pump. Doesn't take very long to do this. That's just going to relax the latex a little bit. And that will make it easier for your electric inflator. So over-inflate first and then downsize to 7 inches. Okay, cross the necks over one another. I like to wrap round twice, and then I take hold of the inner nozzles and tie together. Okay, and then just round off slightly and make another one of these. Take your last balloon and inflate. Put a twist in that neck just to trap the air. Take hold of that inner neck, wrap it into that cluster, and then tie onto one of the necks of the duplet that you made. Okay? Take hold of your cluster of 3 and your duplet and just connect them together. So just pull one into the other and then wrap around a couple of times, just to connect them really well. Okay, so now you've got a cluster of 5. These are unstuffed and inflate to 7 inches. Inflate to 7 inches. Tie the necks together. Make another one of these. Inflate one more. And then wrap that neck in and around and tie onto one of the other necks to create a cluster of 3. Take your cluster of 3 and your duplet and connect them together, just passing one over the other. Okay, take your double stuffed layer and place the single layer on top. Okay, you want to offset the top layer against the bottom layer. Take hold of one of the necks and nozzles from the lower layer and pull it up into the top layer and wrap around. Okay? And you can do the same thing with the neck from the upper layer. Just pull it through into the base and wrap around a couple of times. Okay? That's going to connect everything together. Next, take a heavy weight. I'm using a sand weight. If you don't know how to make these, I've got a tutorial. I'll leave a link in the description below. So pull that into the base layer. I've attached a 260 there as well, and I'm going to pull that neck and nozzle as well as the 260s up into that base layer and through into the center. Okay? And then I'm going to wrap these ends around a few times in a figure of 8 motion. Do the same thing with the neck. So that's going to be connected really, really well. So you've got the sand weight in the bottom. Next, we're going to create an attachment point on the 4 balloon. I'm using a 260 and I'm just going to roll that into the valve. I'll keep rolling. And then when I get to about an inch or so from the side of the balloon, I fold the valve in half and then I'm just going to tie the ends together. So I also want to create an attachment point here. because unfortunately the valve doesn't come straight out of the bottom of the number 4. So if we're going to attach this to our display and want it to be straight, we need to have an attachment point on both sides. Otherwise, if we just connect here, it's going to be wonky, which for some designs will be absolutely fine. I'm just going to take hold of this attachment point. I don't use the punched hole because I find that those tear. So I just grip hold of the foil, take hold of a 160, and I wrap that around as though I were tying up the neck of a deco bubble. Pull that around, take both ends. It's actually easier to do this if you've got a shorter piece of 160, but we need quite a long piece to pull into the base. Okay, and then tie that up. And then tie again. Okay, so we've now got our 2 connection points. So just take hold of those connection points, pull them into the base and wrap them in. I want to create an attachment point just here. So I'm just going to grab hold of the foil, take a piece of 160, and as we did with the attachment point on the number 4, I'm going to create it in the same way. So just wrapping around that little piece of 160 around the foil balloon, as you would if you were tying off a deco bubble. When I've wrapped that around a few times, I'm going to tie that 160 in a knot and then tie a second time. Okay, I want to create another attachment point on the bottom part of the dress here. And for this, I'm going to use the stretchy balloon tape. So there isn't quite enough to grab hold of there. And I'm going to use the X taping method. So just putting the 160 on the balloon, and then putting the tape across this. So if you prefer to use the H taping method, do whatever you feel most comfortable with. I'm just going across in an X here. If you prefer to use the H method, do so. I use the X. I know some of you like to go across here as well. I find with the X method, I don't need to do that. It's a little bit different with the H method. Okay. Okay, so we've got our 2 attachment points on our princess, and I've created corresponding attachment points on the number 4. I'm just going to connect them together, and I do realise that this is back to front for you. Okay, so just connect the top ones first, and I tie one tail to one tail here, and the other tail to this one here. Okay, and you'll see that I've allowed 1 inch to 1.5 inches of stretch there, so I don't connect it really tightly to the number 4. And then that allows me a little bit of movement to tie on to the lower connection point. Next, I'm using a duplicate of 11-inch balloons, sized to about 5.5 to 6 inches. just to add some support at the back here. So I'm just going to pull that duplicate in at the back and wrap around at the front. Just help support the number 4. And then I'm going to wrap in duplicates at the front just to support, add more support.